Why is perfectionism killing your personal development gains and holding you back? Hi, I'm Jeshua.
And I'm Takara.
With Magnificent You. We'll give you the secret to moving past perfectionism in a moment, but first we have a story we need to tell you.
Indeed. So there was this guy named George. And George was like a amateur inventor. He had come up with this really great idea to create a product that was going to really improve households. Like he was going to improve something in the household that every kitchen should have, one of those kind of ideas. And so in all of his spare time, when he wasn't at work and when he wasn't spending time with his wife, and the time with his wife kept shrinking and shrinking because he kept playing with his project, right? But he'd be in his workshop and he'd be drawing plans and he would be coming up with these great ideas and he'd be, eventually he started sending it out and having prototypes made and he was spending all this money and he was spending all this time, but he kept tweaking and getting new prototypes and getting new things, like trying it in a different material and then trying it in a different material and maybe making it this other color instead of the color that he started with and playing around with what the name should be and like wasting a lot of time on things that may or may not have made any difference in its functionality. Okay. And months went by and years went by and this thing was still sitting in the shop in his house, like not out there in the marketplace. And he was getting looked over at work. People were passing him by for promotions because his mind was on this rather than on what he was doing for somebody else in his job. And then, his relationship with his wife was getting strained because his focus was all on this project. But then one day he was sitting and watching television and an infomercial comes up. And on the screen, with some celebrity promoting the thing, is something almost identical to this idea he'd been working on for all these years by somebody else. It wasn't even as good. The materials weren't even as great. The name wasn't as good. Like there were like all the things that were wrong with it, right? But it was out there. It got to market. And now with an infomercial, this thing was selling millions of units of this thing. And where's George? George wasted a lot of time and a lot of money, strained his marriage, got looked over, at work for promotions, and he had nothing whatsoever to show for it. Now, there's something to be said for working on a project. Like, when you have passion for something, like that's great. But think about how he must have felt when he saw that infomercial. It would have been crushing. It would have been... he could have gone into such a deep depression, he could have almost been suicidal, like for real. Who knows what really happened to George? The thing is, that's not what we want for you.
No, definitely not.
Indeed.
Now, the key point to this is that perfection is not possible.
Right.
You can work on something and, just coming up with the first concept and then throwing it out there is also a terrible idea.
Right.
You don't want to do that.
No.
We've spent a lot of time in the book publishing industry, and you see a lot of people just write a first draft and publish it, and that's all they do. And there's a reason it doesn't sell any copies. So, there's a balancing act here.
Right.
But you do have to understand that eventually you're just tweaking it and making changes to tweak it and make changes.
Right. And the other thing too is, as somebody that worked in industry, one of the things I know is that what you like is not necessarily what the consumer might like, right? If you think it needs to be this color, but they do like, product testing out there in the marketplace, you might find that you thought it should be red, but they really liked yellow,
Right.
Like you can't just keep it in the thing and keep working on it, right? Mm-hmm. So when you continue to tweak and try to perfect something, if each iteration the changes that you're making are not noticeably, measurably better, it's time to stop, right? It's time to stop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're just changing it to change it, what's the point?
Exactly.
Are you actually trying to put this out there, whatever that is? So what's that one thing or multiple things that you've been working on for a really long time, either just within yourself, for your friends or your family, or like George, a product of some sort that you want to put out into the world eventually? Have you been working on it for a really long time? Did you maybe even just abandon the idea entirely because it's not good enough? Now that you know it will never be perfect, I'm excited to see what you do with it and where it goes. Because you made it this far into the video, we know that you'll like our future videos as well, so go ahead and leave this one a like and subscribe to the channel. If you have any questions or already have overcome some form of perfectionism, go ahead and leave a comment. Until next time.